The start of the adulting phase in your life, usually because you're about to get your first full-time job, can be very daunting, especially because of the personal finance aspect and everything that comes with it. First of all, I'm here to tell you that it's not that hard, and like everything in life, you will get through it. And second, to tell you that creating a budget is actually the best place to start. This video is not gonna be about you having to keep track of every single dollar that you spend, because you shouldn't live your life that way, and I don't live mine that way either. However, I think most people should try to create a budget at least once a year, or maybe just every time you get a raise or you start making money for the first time. A budget will help you plan for the long-term plans that you have, and also help you determine what are the things that you like, should, and can spend money on, and what are the things that you can actually save. So what I'm gonna be doing is I'm gonna break down the buckets and the different categories that you should have on a budget, and then I'm gonna give specific examples based on the income that I had. My first budget was in 2020 when I graduated from college. I graduated from the University of Florida, and I was about to start working as an IT consultant, making $62,000 a year based here in Miami. So if you'd rather skip to that, you can do so, or if you wanna skip that part, I'm gonna leave it in the timeline. But as far as the categories and getting right to it, there are three buckets that you're gonna have in your budget. They're gonna be the fixed cost, the variable cost, and what I call the free money spending. So when you think about fixed costs, you have to think about the things that are necessities that no matter what happens each month, you're gonna get charged. So if you spend a month where you stay at home watching Netflix and you don't leave your apartment, you're still gonna have these charges in your debit card or in your bank account. Now, the first two are the least entertaining. They are taxes and 401k. In the next part of the video, I will be explaining how much you should allocate to each one. And then you get to your biggest expense of the entire budget, which is gonna be rent. After rent, you have utilities. So these are the things that you spend in your apartment. They're gonna be water, electricity, and internet. Then you're gonna have your telephone plan, which a lot of people are still gonna be in their parents' plan, which is great. Then as far as your car, you're gonna have your car payment, so probably a lease, and then your car insurance. And then talking about insurance, you're gonna have also health insurance, dental insurance, and for a lot of people, eyesight insurance. And the last item for me is key subscriptions, which I'm gonna cover in the next part what they are. And then as far as variable, which is the next bucket, these are the things that are also necessities, but the amount of money that you can allocate to them can change from month to month based on your necessities. So these are basically two. It's food and transportation, which is gas, or if you live like in New York, is gonna be paying for the subway. And then free money spending is just gonna be everything else. So every other thing that you like spending money on that are just more fun. The ones that I have are other subscriptions, going out, eating out, or just restaurants, traveling, lifestyle, which is, like getting a haircut or getting your nails done, buying clothes or things like that. And then lastly, but also very important, are your savings or rainy day fund. So these are all the categories, and if you want to learn how much money I allocated and kind of what you should be allocating as well, if you take my advice, let's get to the next part. So like I said, when I started with my first budget, it was 2020. So take in mind that there wasn't that much inflation as there is now back then. And I was making $62,000 here in Miami. Miami's a little more expensive. So let's get right to it. So the first thing you have to do is determine what's gonna be the difference between the amount of money that you have in your salary and the amount of money that you're gonna be taking home. Because the first thing you're gonna have to pay are taxes. So if you want to determine how much taxes you're gonna be paying, you can go to this website. It's gonna ask you for some very basic questions, like if you're single, married, if you're blind. These are just very basic questions in order to determine what tax cuts you're gonna have and how much taxes you're gonna be paying. Don't get too deep to it. You don't have to put in every single pre-tax or post-tax deduction you're gonna have. Just put where you live, how much money you're making, and that's it. When you do it based on a $62,000 salary, for my details, you get that you pay around $7K in taxes. And then the other thing is your 401k. There's a lot of debate about how much money you should allocate to your 401k. What I recommend is that you should at least put the amount of money that your company matches, if you have a company that has a 401k. So that's usually between 4 to 6%. Back then when I started, I had 6% of my income allocated to my 401k. So that meant that I allocated $3,300 a year into my 401k, with which the matching was a lot more. So the first one is rent. Now there's a rule of thumb, which I kind of like following, which is that you shouldn't spend more than 30% in your rent. And that's actually pretty good because it came to my budget, which was $1,400 per month on rent. Like I said, I live in Miami, which has one of the most expensive rents in the entire nation. Then as far as utilities, I didn't have to pay water, but I did have to pay electricity, and that came out to around $50 a month. Then my internet was $20 because I got a very good discount for first-time renters. Now it's like $40, which is not great. And also just be mindful that a lot of apartments might charge you additional utilities like parking or even like a trash service. So just be mindful of that. Telephone, I did have to leave my parents' phone bill and I had to pay for my own telephone, which came to $70 with AT&T. The next one was a car payment, and here's where my budget might be different from yours. I didn't have to pay for my car because the car that I have was my family's old car. So my car payment actually was $0. But the car insurance is $200 and that hasn't changed, so that's great. Health and dental insurance are things that are probably gonna be taken out of your paycheck before you get the money, but these are usually very heavily subsidized, so they're not gonna be that expensive. For me, it was $140 for health and then $25 for dental, and they were great insurances. Then for key subscriptions, I think a lot of subscriptions are things that you should put in free money spending because they're not necessities. But with how we are nowadays, I actually put 3 subscriptions in necessities, and these are one for music. I have Spotify. Then is Amazon Prime because I get a lot of things that I use my day to day, like soap, shampoo, and things like that from Amazon Prime, and it saves me the time to go to the store. So I think you should include that in your necessities. And just one streaming service. I only had Spotify and Amazon Prime. I don't have Netflix or anything like that. So my key subscriptions was, like $40 to just be a little conservative. Let's say that you do have Netflix or one of those. And then last one of the fixed income is one that I didn't mention in the previous category, but it's also really important, which is your Roth IRA. Back then, you could contribute $6,000 per year to your Roth IRA. So I just put $500 a month. But nowadays, they actually increased the limit. So nowadays, it's gonna be a little more than that. If you have no clue what a Roth IRA is, you can watch these videos and you can find out all about them. Then as far as variables, like I said, these are necessities that you can change every month. To give you an example, this month I traveled to Austin to visit some friends and I spent a lot of money there. So what I did is I cut back on my buying of food because I was never starving. But if you spend a lot of money in one category, as far as food and transportation, you can cut back. You can start buying very cheap food at the supermarket. You can start using the things that you have in your fridge. And then as far as transportation, if I didn't have money left for gas, I could technically wake up earlier and either walk to work or take public transportation. Nonetheless, my budget was $400 for food and then $70 per gas, which was about 2 tanks a month. Back then, gas was much cheaper. And then as far as free money spending, so here's the play where you can do whatever you want. And I really mean you can do whatever you want because all your necessities you've already covered. And here's how mine went. All the subscriptions, I only had the gym, and I also have a few subscriptions that I pay for my YouTube channel, so like Adobe Premiere. Those were $60. Then in going out, here's where I actually spent a lot of money, and I allocated $500 per month to going out, which can be a lot. And I will get to that. Then restaurants, I don't spend a lot of money eating out, and that's actually a strategic decision because I just allocate that to other categories, but I only put $80. I take my food to the office every single day, and even back then, I wasn't spending any money on eating out, just like an occasional lunch with a friend. Traveling, I will set a budget aside every month so I could save for traveling, and like once a quarter or like every few months, I will, do like a big travel to, for example, visit Barney, like I did a few times. Then lifestyle, these are just when you want to save and you have to get like a new pair of shoes, or you want to get a haircut, or maybe you have to spend money by going to the doctor or something like that. And I allocated $200. And lastly, savings/rainy day fund was very important. And for that one, I allocated $350 every single month. As far as what I did with those $350, I will save and then also invest a portion, but leave a comment below if you want to see more details about that category. And that just covers every single dollar that I spent. So the key to budgeting is just determining what are the things that you want to spend money on and what are the things that you don't. If you take a look back at my budget, you're gonna see that I allocate a lot of money to going out and also to traveling, because these are the two categories that I enjoy. However, you don't see any money being allocated to expensive clothes or eating out or an expensive car. The reason for that is because I follow the technique learned in I Will Teach You to Be Rich that tells you that you should pick two categories to spend money on and just save on every single other. To give you another example, if you know this channel, you know that Barney, the co-host, always says that he eats the exact same thing every single weekday just so he can save to have money to go out on the weekends. People want to spend a lot of money going out, and they also want to get the expensive clothes, and they also want to have the expensive car. But the reality is, at the point that we are in our lives now, we're not millionaires and we just can't afford it all. I think this is the biggest issue with personal finance and just spending in the United States. So you just have to pick two things that you like to spend money on and see how much you can allocate to that. Don't let anyone tell you that what you're spending money on is wrong or right, because that's actually your choice. Once you cover your basic necessities and you're saving for retirement and saving for the rainy day fund, just do whatever you want with your money, but do it responsibly and also know what you're gonna be saving on, because that is a key to budgeting. I hope this helps you. It's all about getting organized and doing this every so often, but having a structure that helps you. And if you want to see anything else in personal finance that you want to get some help on, leave it in the comments and I will check it out. And make sure that you subscribe, because we make very good personal finance videos every single Wednesday. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Peace!